Hey, what's up, and welcome back to A-Aron Reacts. This is the third in a mini series of All of Me with Angelina Jordan. I'll put a link to the first two. You probably do want to watch these sequentially, more than likely, to get the most value out of my reactions as well as understanding, because I reference earlier things, and we're talking about some of the changes and differences, right? So I would strongly encourage you to do so if you haven't. Go back. That said, we've got two rehearsals we're going to do here, both at the age of 13. Now, the first is with Egil. Boy, it's been a while since I've heard the pronunciation of that, but I think that's closer than I used to do once I heard him say it, or her say it, rather. Um, and then there's one that is a sound check for another performance of Proysenhuset, which we just reacted to. It's the previous one for Proysenhuset in December of 2018. This is there's an actual concert coming up in July of 2019, so 7 months later. So this is the sound check for that, so probably right around the time. And I'm not sure when this rehearsal from Egil is. It doesn't specifically say, so I don't know. Both at the age of 13 though. So we're gonna combine these rehearsals together. So let's start. We'll do the one with Egil. It says watch till end. So that should be interesting.
Hello? Hello.
English.
All of me. Why not take all of
Ooh.
me? Can't you see I'm no good without you?
Oh.
Take my lips, I want to lose them. Take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry.
Oh.
How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me?
Ooh.
It's in the speed mode.
Sorry, I just have to find the right chords on the B part because I didn't have them.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So let's start towards the end. So Egil, I don't think I've ever heard him speak in English. So that's really neat. And she did say something to him, and I believe Norwegian, before he started going to town. And he mentioned the right B part. So, for those of you that are familiar, kind of there's different ways of describing how things are broken down, compositionally for a song. And kind of a timeless approach for a lot of jazz standards. It's not the only one, but it's very common, is to kind of have this A, B, A pattern where you have the same structure, and then it changes, and then same structure. Here he's talking about that B, right? And so she finishes her singing, he goes into the B section, he's talking about, I'm trying to figure out what I do there. And that's especially important because, clearly she's dropping out. And so he's probably planning for being a rhythmic backing while there's probably some solo playing on top of it. So he's trying to figure it out. It's a rehearsal. It makes sense. And she just kind of laughs it off like, yeah, whatever, do your thing, right? Like, I love it. It's so cool. And that's just the making. Now, I am blown away by this one because this is what I anticipated seeing and hearing from her at the age of 12, actually. Because at the time of her being 12 years old, she's already come into her own. She already has completely her own sound. She's not usually trying to emulate anybody, right? But in earlier one, I mean, it's my own interpretation, right? Feel free to disagree, but it felt like up to this point, the other two that we did were Billie Holiday interpretations, right? Trying to sound like Billie Holiday, and we saw a more experimental, what I'm gathering, experimental version. in the rehearsal, and then the live performance was much more reminiscent than the commercially available version of Billie Holiday. Here, we get Angelina Jordan. We get her sound coming through. Yeah, there's some hints of Billie Holiday in there and some influences for sure. But this is Angelina Jordan for the first time at the age of 13. And she, of course, sounds brilliant. She sounds fantastic. She's making every bit of it her own, right? Some of the phrasing still indicative of, the original arrangement from Billie Holiday and so forth, but she's completely made it her own here. And you know, not a lot of just differences in terms of, her phrasing and some of the things that she's doing there, but the sound is 100% of hers. Now, there are some changes she's doing. Like Cry, she did the same, but now she made the sound make it sound like hers, right? That melisma she did there and some of the other things she doing. So there are some differences for sure. All right, let's dive into the sound check, which is her at age 13. So I'm really curious if what version of Angelina we're going to hear for this performance coming up, because, which will be my next reaction, by the way. I'm not doing the performance, but we'll see the rehearsal. That'll probably be indicative of what she's doing for the performance. We'll see. But at this point, there's three different versions of her singing. I've heard her do just a song. Which actually isn't surprising because my guess is that some of the Billie Holiday stuff she did earlier at the age of 6, 7, 8, she probably had already been studying, performing, and so forth. I'm sure she's heard this many, many times at this point because she studied Billie Holiday. But maybe she hadn't actually tried to sing it up until recently at this time. And maybe that's why we're seeing so much experimentation here, which is natural. All right, let's dive into this next one. Yeah, so I recognize this set for sure.
Of me, why not take all of me? Can't you see I'm no good without you? Take my lips, I want to lose them. Take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. How can
Every time that cry.
go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Out of me, why not take
Mm. Okay, so once again we hear a different ending from the last performance. Um, okay, so here we have a little bit of a hybrid in terms of her tone from the first two. Now we are not getting the Angelina Jordan here, really. This is the Billie Holiday-ish emulation that we saw in the first performance, with some mixes of the experimentation, I'm guessing, that she did in the rehearsal. So it's kind of a little bit of a hybrid. She's definitely stepping more on the I don't want to say courageous, but experimental side, I guess, in what she's doing here for sure in terms of her voice and some of the phrasing. Even now we get a little bit more. That ending was quite different. Um, but man, geez, oh Pete's, what a difference you hear with the band. No disrespect to these guys, they sound good. But again, we're at Angelina Jordan elite level here. Let's be clear on that, right? And that band she had at that first performance was great. These guys aren't as good. They don't sound as tight. That drummer doesn't feel like he's doing some of the fills appropriately. I don't really feel like the style he's doing matches this group and her singing well. That guitar solo didn't feel like he was putting, actual riffs in there or some kind of theming or structure. It just felt like he was going up and down the scales. And the bass player's walk-in sounds okay, but there's nothing special about it. So, and the quality of the sound, it's a sound check and so forth, and it's a, fan cam and all that. So I'm not too concerned about the sound, but look, they don't sound bad. I'm not for 1 minute saying that, but it's not the same caliber that we saw. So, that I feel like detracts from this a little bit as well. And so, yeah, I went back to the video with Egil and trying to see, does it say, is there any indication of time of when that was recorded? And I also went back over to Dimly Lit to see if it lists it there, and neither of them do. They just say age 13. But there is one thing that is interesting here. Now, I learned that this channel, Angelina Jordan Fan Club Mozarts, which is where I've got the Egil one, and all the links to all the videos are always going to be in my description. I always include them. But, it is actually Mary, Angelina's grandmother, that is uploading this content, hundreds of videos, right? And it's for that reason that we have so much of this, really. I mean, there's many other reasons, but that's the primary one, right? And she uploaded this at the end of 2019, December 21st. Now, that could be one of two things. One, she literally just didn't upload it right away, or batch uploaded a bunch or something, so there's no rhyme to the reason in terms of the timing. Or it could mean that this occurred almost 6 months after, 5 months technically, after the performance, which obviously, if we're doing the rehearsal, for the sound check for the performance, it's probably going to be within a couple days or a week of the other, usually. More than likely a couple days, right? You set up, even, same day is most common, right? But nevertheless, it's around that time. And so it was in July of 2019. So this, if it were around the time it was recorded, when it was uploaded, occurs 5 months after. And so that makes a ton of sense in that case, that this Yield is, we're getting more Angelina Jordan at that time. So it's much later. Well, much is relative, right? To any natural human being that lives on this planet, 5 months of development in anything you're working towards is not a lot of time, right? Really. For Angelina, it's like years in terms of her development. It's insane, right? And so, yeah, I mean, this is 5 months later. That's a long time in terms of how quickly she's growing during these years. And so it would make a ton of sense that she said, you know what, let's give this me to the picture. And so I believe that's what we're seeing here. It is possible that it occurs before, and maybe she didn't feel it was ready for it. Again, maybe it didn't match. Maybe she didn't want to outshine the band. Like, this girl's got so much class that maybe there's even something like that at play. So who knows? Well, maybe you do. Maybe someone in there knows the date or whatever. But nevertheless, I think I'll leave it at that. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and do so now. Again, there's a link in the description for a membership site where you can, get a number of perks for being an angel over at aaronreacts.com. Regardless, we will see you in the next one. Thank you much.